On today's episode, we get to peek behind the curtain of John Halcyon and Hug Nation, the journey of creation of this movement that started over 25 years ago. We're going to get to hear some of the inside scoop from learning about Grandpa Caleb to where Hug Nation is now and how it's making a positive difference in the world far and wide. Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to Stay Sparked. We are two longtime friends here to share conversations aimed to light you up. I'm Betsy Finkelhu, the creator of the Power Affirmation Journal and Somatic Bodyworker.
I am John Halcyon Styn, host of the Hug Nation YouTube channel and Heart-Centered Men men's groups.
We always love starting with gratitude here and in most of our conversations. And so love to check in with you, John Halcyon. What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for the Zoom gratitude circles that I've been hosting. This weekend, we're celebrating 6 years of 3 times a day Zoom circles. We started during COVID. I host one of those of the 3, but I'm just so grateful and I'm so aware of how the practice has impacted my life, my lens, and my relationships.
Wow, congratulations. That is a very deep commitment. Wow,
Yeah.
way to show up.
Thank you.
6 years. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
What are you grateful for?
Well, today I'm grateful for my mom. My mom is the sweetest little lady. She is just wonderful. I got to see her yesterday and spend some time with her outside. It's warming up here in North Carolina, and I live about an hour and a half from her, and so I get to visit her a couple times a month, sometimes more. But I'm just really grateful for this amazing quality time with this amazing woman called my mama, my mountain mama.
Yeah, I almost said my mom because I get to spend the weekend with my mom too. And boy, is so grateful for that relationship and watching her continually grow into a more and more amazing woman. Hooray for moms.
Yay, mom. Aw. Yay. Well, we're gonna give a little shout out to our sponsors, Lucid. This is a mushroom nootropics drink that we have been enjoying for many months now. They make a variety of nootropic mushroom drinks that have either coffee or my favorite is the cocoa drink that has mushrooms and nootropic. I drink that to calm my system down. Now they actually just came out with the Super Boost version, which I'm super excited to try. So thank you to our friends at Lucid. Check them out on becomelucid.com.
I'm also a fan of their chai. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, their chai is really good too. I haven't had that one in a while. Yum, yum, yum. So we'll be sipping on our Lucid while we have a little chat today. And I am particularly excited about this conversation because we get to dive into the world of John Halcyon and Hug Nation. And so for those of you out there who have been following John Halcyon, for those of you who don't even know who this person is, which is probably rare because you're so known and loved by so many, we're going to get to go a little deeper and knowing who you are and what you've created. And so the intention is for us to ask you some questions and see what wants to come out, especially in relation to Hug Nation.
This is
So,
like my favorite topic.
all right. I know. I love that. I love hearing you talk about yourself. You're pro. Now, on every episode of Stay Sparked, you hear John introduce himself as the founder of Hub Nation YouTube channel. And so I wanted to open up a conversation for those people that don't even know what that is, for you to just share what is Hug Nation, where did it come from, and what's it all about?
Oh boy. I wish I had an elevator pitch to explain it, but I think I'll start with how it began, and that will lead into a better understanding. So I was very excited and active in the early days of the internet, and one of the things that I was able to do or was stupid enough to do was I moved into a webcam house for 2 years where everything I did was broadcast online. We had 27 cameras with night vision and audio, so everything I did. And while we were there, we started thinking about ways that we could use this tool to demonstrate the possibilities of the internet. This was in 2000, so that was a time when a lot of people still felt that the internet was uncool or for nerds, and, uh but I was noticing, especially by using webcams, how powerful it was as a way to connect with people all over the world. It eliminated geographic boundaries, and so we started doing sort of experiments in the house. My grandfather, Caleb, came and did a Thanksgiving, uh, like, grace, and we had people from all over the world kinda sitting, quote, unquote, "around the table," sharing their gratitude, and, I mean, that was the moment I was like, "Oh, shit. This is real." Like, people were I couldn't see the people were bawling, like, "I thought I was gonna be alone today," and so the more we started thinking about, "What could we do? What could we do?" This then 9/11 happened, and, you know, the the it's hard to remember, like, right after it happened was just overwhelm, horror. And then there was this brief chapter when, at least in the conversations that I was in, there was this thought that, what if this is the smack that gets us to knocks us out of the patterns and the behaviors that create a landscape in the world that creates this kind of possibility? Like, maybe we need to make some big changes. And almost immediately after those conversations were happening, our administration was like, "Hey, everybody, let's get back to shopping, let's get the economy going." And then the narrative started to talk about us and them, as we now know they were getting us in, in the mindset so that we would be more open to conflict and war. But as that's happening, us, them, I was like this evangelist for the possibility of the web. I'm like, wait, there's no them anymore. Like, you can, with a click, you could talk to somebody in Iraq. You could, like, this is the old models don't work. I'm like, well, how can we use the web to show that? And I was like, what if we once a week got as many people as possible in front of webcams and hugged ourselves and just it said, like, no matter what the news is saying, let's acknowledge that the world would rather hug you than hurt you and share its
Mm.
hug. Because my experience traveling the world was that every country I went to, no matter what the reputation of that country was, if you met an individual person, they would invite you to their home. They would serve you tea. And I was like, the internet is this digital tool that now gives us the possibility to have tea with anyone in the world. And so we started doing that. We started doing a weekly hug and a weekly reminder that we're connected, we're family. And, it was a
Wow.
beautiful idea. It didn't get a ton of traction until, uh, about a couple years later, my grandmother passed away. And I went to go see my grandfather, who was a Baptist minister, retired at the time. And he'd helped thousands of people go through transition, but this was his partner of 65 years, his soulmate, his driver, and so I went to see him and was like, "Grandpa, hey, how you doing?" And he said, "Did you know that for $4 I can get a shuttle anywhere in the city?" I was like, "Amazing." He goes, "Yeah, so I went down to the market and I had a list of things I needed. And I said, 'Excuse me, my wife has recently changed her residence to heaven. Could you help me find a few things?'" And I was just like, "This guy, man." I'm like, "Grandpa, man, you always help me see the glass is half full." And he leaned back and he looked me in the eyes and he said, "It's a beautiful glass."
Mm.
And I literally, physically felt electricity in my body in that moment. It's like, "Zuh!" And at that time, earlier that year, I'd won the Webby Award for Best Personal Website for my site, cockybastard.com. I was legally, technically, officially the most narcissistic person on the entire internet. think about the
Woo!
in that moment, zzz, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have been learning how to use all these tools so I can hand the microphone to this beautiful old man." I said, "Grandpa, would you be my co-host for Hug Nation?" He said, "Yes." And so then once a week, I would visit him and we would broadcast together, and it became his final congregation. It was not religious, it was about gratitude, and
Mm,
it was about him telling stories, but more than that, it was about being in the presence of a man who had lived 90 plus years aligned with his values of he hidden using Jesus as his model.
mhm.
He was less attached to church, very committed to the teachings of Jesus,
Mm.
which also helped me get over a lot of my baggage around Christianity. Um, and so then our audience really grew, and and then we did that for 3 years until he passed right before he turned 95.
Wow,
And
is all of that still live, by the way? Can people
yes,
still
you
watch
can
all of that? That's
yeah,
still on Ignatian YouTube
there's a
channel?
playlist on Hug Nation YouTube channel of Grandpa Caleb, and you can see it. Yeah, I don't think I'm overselling it, that he had a vibe, you know?
Mhm.
He had a presence of gratitude that, uh, makes the difference of I mean and especially, I learned a lot by visiting him weekly in his retirement village. You know, there's aging is hard, and there's 2 distinct schools that I witnessed at his retirement community. Those that get constricted and get really focused on the aches and the pains and how little they get visitors, and the people who soften and just start going, "Wow." Every time I would have lunch with him before we broadcast, he would ask the waiter person, "Could you list off all of our dessert options? You're not gonna believe this. I've never had it so good." It just constantly just being, "Wow, wow, wow, wow."
Mm,
So and that changed my life, being around him. When he
yeah.
passed, I wasn't sure if I was gonna continue doing it because he seems to be the obvious vehicle for this message. At the time, I was pretty hardcore into Burning Man and, had a healthy love of chemical usage and just didn't feel like, uh but people when he passed, people said I'm kinda getting into the weeds here, but people said, "Why don't you take it on the road? You're restricted by his frail body. Why don't you take this on the road?" And so within 2 weeks, I had bought an '84 motorhome, painted it pink, had pink wings painted on the side because of my favorite picture of him, and had his ashes mixed into the paint job of the wings. And on the side of it, it says, "The world would rather hug you than hurt you." And it's still parked outside, although it's
Mhm,
currently in I registered it as not road ready right now.
mhm.
Um,
Right.
so we went on a tour and got to meet a bunch of people, and then I
Wow,
continued to do Hug Nation weekly
this
for
unifying people
years.
through hugging themselves, hugging each other, just getting into the attitude of gratitude,
Yeah.
primarily posting on YouTube, spreading this message.
And so it predated YouTube, so we had to find whatever tools were possible to do broadcasts, and we went through one technology after another as they started and folded. Um, in the early days, we had like a FTP, an uploading image that would upload an image of us like every 3 seconds, and then a streaming radio station. So, like, our show was like a slide, frozen, frozen, frozen as we were trying to talk.
Mm. Mm. Wow, so really, like, I just wanna reflect that you're a pioneer of the internet. You saw the potential of being able to connect people far and wide, and especially from that place of love and gratitude and positive reminders that the world would rather hug you than hurt you, and how powerful that Grandpa Caleb got to be the catalyst for it
Absolutely.
to take flight to really get moving, and then how amazing that you had this vehicle. Like, he was a
Yeah,
vehicle, and then you turned his energy into a literal vehicle.
yeah, I mean, if you're watching the screen, he's pictures on the
Yes, can you
wall
go there?
right
Wow, this
there.
is Grandpa
And
Caleb.
and so then um that was 2007 that he passed, and I continued it weekly, year after year after year after year, and then when, uh, COVID started, I I was actually in Costa Rica and I was debating if I was gonna stay down there because it was beautiful there and they had plenty of toilet paper, and I was like, "Maybe I should just stay down there." But then I realized that if people are stuck inside on their computers, that they're gonna be craving ways to connect, and I'm arguably the world expert at connecting through webcams. Like, I don't know if anyone else has had as much practice with trying to connect and feel love and hugging through the computer than me. So I was like, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I think I have a necessary skill. So I flew back and in meditation had the download. You need to host gratitude circles twice a day, every day. At the time, I thought it was going to be for a month, you know? 6 years later, we're now 3 times a day still hosting those gratitude circles, and, at the end of every single one, we say, "On behalf of Grandpa Caleb," and we all hug ourselves.
Hug. Yes, I love that. So these gratitude circles are essentially a part of Hognation. So
Absolutely.
Hognation is sort of the umbrella for gratitude circles for your YouTube channel, for so much of your work.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's the gratitude circles. There's a few things that I think of are infused in the practice. One is gratitude and group gratitude, because I think scientific community and spiritual community is very clear that gratitude lists are important and helpful and scientifically proven to lift your baseline happiness. But what I've discovered over these last 6 years especially is group gratitude amplifies that, because you don't know the limitations of your own lens of what you're seeing until you hear other people share stuff, and you get to go, "I too have a working washer and dryer. I I too have use of both my hands. I too have refrigeration. Oh my gosh, I too," you know, and so your lens of what you start to pay attention to just keeps growing, and I think that is why this is a practice that I'm so dedicated to and is I evangelize so much is because the brain's natural tendency is to focus on what are the dangers, you know? We evolved to survive, and gratitude is not a survival tool. So you have to consciously choose to spend time and energy in gratitude, otherwise your survival body will go, "Hey, I could give a shit about those flowers. What if there's a bear over there?"
Mm.
Or then you apply it to, "What if I'm late to this meeting? Oh god." And we have a out of proportion stress to everyday life. But gratitude is the antidote to that. So the one part is the gratitude, the other part is reminding yourself that there are millions and millions and millions of people out there like you. We get
Yes.
these narratives of us, them, us, them. The news is what's wrong. The news is examples of people that are being, uh, cruel or unjust or corrupt, And so if you let the narrative of the establishment dictate your understanding of the world, it is lonely, it is scary, it is dangerous to reveal your truth. But Hugnation is that daily or whenever you need a reminder, like, "Oh, right. No, there's lots of us."
Yeah.
And if you can find the courage to be that in the world, it's activism. it's important. It helps that other person out there that is overwhelmed with that story of like, "Oh my gosh, everyone's out to get me. There's no good people. I gotta watch my back." And then they see you being kind, patient, joyful, and it's like, "Oh, okay, okay." And
Spread.
the
Mhm.
ripples that impacts the world with are you will never know, but my part of my faith is that it's important.
Yes, absolutely. So well said. Thank you for your leadership to continue to bring this forward and invite people into this practice. And I think you spoke to something that I'm curious about. You said, it takes courage. And so, how do you summon your own courage to keep showing up and hosting these gratitude circles and keep showing up to your message of unifying people with love and gratitude and hugs?
Mm. I feel like I've been quite blessed over the course of the my journey in that anytime I have been scared about revealing something true, I have been met with love. That we have, we're raised by people who love us and want to protect us to 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 hide the vulnerable stuff, to let the world know that you're in control, you got it handled, that you don't need them, and like that is a safe place. Um, but it is it it keeps you separate because no one really gets to see who you really are. And
Mhm.
my experience has been, and started practicing it before in 98, 99, the first internet, it was sharing vulnerable things about myself and realizing that those were not places of weakness. Those were cracks where the love gets through, you
Man,
know?
honey.
And and it is true that there are people that will take advantage of it. There will people that will try to use that to hurt you. But the more that you own it, the less power it has, If I say, "Oh my gosh, I really struggle with my skin, my complexion, it breaks out, and I totally sometimes I judge myself. I don't want to go out in public." And if someone responds to that with, "You have bad skin," it's like, right, just said that, yeah. But if you live in fear of somebody noticing your pimple, and then someone goes, you got a zit," it feels terrible. Like it is
Mhm.
horrific. So I've learned over time that the more you can find a place of discomfort and just reveal it and make it your truth, the more invincible you are.
Absolutely. And there is a comfort within yourself rather than just getting totally disrupted. Because of course people are going to be judging you no matter what. Right. And I am so curious within the context of that, I've gotten to witness you for so many years, just continuing to be vulnerable, model vulnerability, model authenticity, model this sort of leadership and bringing people together for good causes, and just really allowing yourself to be so deeply seen online. And I love hearing that a lot of that has come from practice. And what I get really curious about is how do you navigate your own internal state when there are people coming at you?
Mm,
Because there are trolls and there are
sure.
people that are going to try to, burst your gratitude bubble, and they're, going to try to say like, yeah, well, the world isn't all rainbows and butterflies or whatever they're going to try to say. So
Mhm.
how do you personally navigate that?
I mean, I do occasionally get some pretty poison-filled venom thrown at me. Um, a couple things that really help me. One is a Ram Dass story that he often tells, something about, if you go through the woods and you see a gnarled tree and you see a fresh new tree, you don't go, "Oh, that's a good tree. Oh, that's a bad tree." It's all beautiful. And, And that idea of of judging something that is true is a little bit of insanity. It's like going outside and going like, "Ugh, that's an ugly cloud." Like, "Oh, I don't like the color of that flower." It's like, well, that has nothing to do with the perfection of God's reality, you know? Like, if you are shooting venom at me based on me trying to be as authentic as possible, you can take it up with God, you know? You take like, this is my truth. On the contrary, if I am trying to be cool, if I am trying to present in a certain way, and then somebody gives me an attack, that is hurtful. It's hard because then it's like going to an audition and having the director say, "You're not good at this," and that hurts. But if
Mhm.
somebody says, "I don't like what you are,"
Then that's
that is
there.
what does
Yeah.
that have to do with me?
There's nothing
Yeah,
to do with you. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
over the time, I've really gotten clear on how much of that is projection, and 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 I even understand that. You know, there was a time when I had bright pink hair. I would do a daily little sunset parade on a pink fur bike, and it was confronting to a lot of people.
Yep.
More people would go, "Yeah," as they drove by, but there were certainly voices that yelled at me, and
I was one of those people that cheered you on. That was actually how I met you. You
Yay.
were on your pink furry bike with your pink hair and this beautiful woman you were dating at the time. And my current partner knew you and yelled out to you, and then we both were like, "Yeah!" And I was like, "I don't know who that amazing person is, but I'm gonna cheer him on." And you came over to our car and he said hello, and that was the first moment I met this magical human that you are.
That's so awesome, and that goes back to that, like, there is activism in shining in a way that is, quote, unquote, "too much" for our culture.
Mm,
Too
mhm.
kind, too loving, too bold, because it attracts the people that are in alignment. It gives more permission to people that are scared. Like, they see me
Mhm.
if you see me on a pink fur bike and pink hair, and you're about to buy a new bike, and you're like, "Boy, this one is a pretty bright blue. Is it too much?" Of course it's not too much. Did you see the guy on the pink bike? You know?
Yes, exactly. You're a permissionary.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that word, and I love the the power that gives to me and others to turn what could be just simple acts into powerful acts of activism.
Yeah.
Another thing that I noticed, that, when people are yelling something from a car, it's almost always a truck that they're yelling from. It's and, a lot of things about my sexuality or whatever, and I have compassion and sympathy for the mindset. This is a person who I'm guessing has been socialized to believe there's an appropriate way to live. There are certain compromises that you need to make. There are certain little impulses that you need to shut down. You need to get up at a certain time of work. You need to do this, and you follow those rules year after year after year, and then you see somebody flaunting and saying, "Fuck that! I'm not going to follow those rules." As a That person in the truck has got a few choices. They can say, "Whoa, I have to totally reevaluate my concept of reality," or I can say, "Attack that thing for breaking the rules."
Right.
And it's so much easier to attack.
Mm.
So if I hear the attack from that place of this person is struggling with their own prison, it's like, "Ah, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry."
Yeah, that can bring up so much more compassion rather than just fighting back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's really powerful. And, I love that this is coming through now. Here we are in 2026. You started this off at another big time in history. And so much has changed since then. But that message is still very important that the world would rather hug you than hurt you. And so, how are you finding that message reaching people now? Is it mostly the gratitude circles? Are you, yeah, what are you noticing how it's landing now in the state of the world?
I mean, it's it's sad, it's encouraging, it's poetic how parallel it is, you know? It is
Mhm.
I think it's more important because now there are so many more sophisticated voices that are broadcasting the narrative of us them. But I but it's I feel like it's yeah, I feel like it's more important and more necessary, and especially it's and to understand that activism is important because this is a time when most people that I cross paths with are struggling to figure out what they can do to bring more harmony into the world. Like, it needs it now, and it's easy to make the conclusion, "There's nothing I can do." But Hug Nation is about, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, actually, you can be a love ambassador. You can be kind. You can be a permissionary. You can add teeny, teeny, tiny bits of compassion into the world all day long, and you don't have to wait until you get your graduate degree. You don't have to worry until you go 100 days without raising your voice. You are fully qualified right now to, in your next interaction, bring into it a little bit of kindness."
Be kind. Yes, and kindness is essentially a hug,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to touch someone to hug someone. You can hug someone with a smile, with a act of kindness, with a kind word, and I think that that seems like the essence of what Hug Nation is about, right? Spreading
Yes.
kindness
Well,
in different kind of
I mean,
ways.
Hug Nation isn't about a physical hug because we're not actually together. It's about the intention of connectivity. One of our
Mm,
mottos is, "It doesn't matter where your feet are, it matters where your heart is." And so Hug Nation is about saying, "I I want to feel into this connection that I have with fellow human beings."
yes. Yes, I love that. I'm creating a coherent field where there's
Yeah.
harmony, right? Because that's the other word that I hear really strongly in your message is creating harmony. And that's what the world needs. And I love getting to hear some of the backstory around your perspective around division and how that's been threaded through this whole thing, especially through the internet. And so to be a love ambassador here to sing a message of harmony, of unity, of connection, it's so valuable and so needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
and another part of that is recognizing that everyone who is having a human experience is struggling with the same things, parallel struggles with safety, doubt, with trust, with, whatever your journey is right now and your struggle. I mean, the details, the person that you consider your villain, the person that you consider your whatever the roles are being played by different people, but every human is struggling. And it's so if you can sink into a less detail oriented and a more feeling specific camaraderie, I think that's also one of the ways that we can make progress, you
Yeah.
know? Like, I I see someone make a political post that I go, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then I go, "Wait a minute, this person has fear. This person is scared for their family." Or whatever, like, okay, I understand that. I understand that. I don't know what the steps are for us to be, hugging in person together, but at least recognizing that is part of the Hug Nation idea as well, is like, can we recognize that there is a collect a Venn diagram that we do overlap in our humanity?
Yes, absolutely. That is so beautiful. And that is just, once again, compassion.
Yeah.
It is to be able to move from that place of compassion, guiding our thoughts which is basically thinking with the heart, right? Rather than contributing to the fight with our own judgments, our own frustrations, our own fear, that just creates more division. So I love this conversation, and I'm so curious as to just how people can get more involved with Hug Nation. And is there any way, like somebody that might be listening right now is feeling the sparks? They're like, oh my God, yes, yes to this message, yes to Hug Nation, yes to unification, yes to harmony. But how do I participate? I want to play in being an ambassador of love. So how would you invite people to dive into this?
Just send me
Participate.
your bank routing information and no, I'm just kidding, just kidding. No. Um, there's a number of ways that I think under this Hug Nation umbrella are activities and projects that I invite people to. Every day at 9 a.m., I do a broadcast on YouTube Live. It's under Hug Nation. And I should say all these things are linked at lifestudent.com, so you can find these things fairly easily, lifestudent.com. And so at 9 a.m. is this live broadcast where I'm on camera and people in chat are sharing their gratitude, so we're all listening to each other's gratitude. At noon is a Zoom call that is open to all. These things are both free. And that you never longer than 30 minutes. People share a minute or so. You don't have to share, but it is beautiful, and I welcome you to join in that. Um, Not directly Hug Nation, but influenced by, is First Saturdays, which is a outreach for people experiencing, houselessness, or people that are needy, and that's in San Diego based every first Saturday. And it's another way to just practice this. How can we practice kindness and connection? And it's it's so much more than giving clean socks and food to people. It is recognizing that the quickest, most powerful way to raise your joy is to participate in raising someone else's joy. And so we do that once a month. Um,
Love it.
yeah, I think those are the big ones. I have a if you on Life Student, I've got a couple books that are available. I also do one-on-one coaching if people want to like really uh, get their gratitude practice kickstarted into something that's going to change your life. And then I occasionally have men's gatherings that are, again, not specifically Hug Nation, but I bring, there's a certain philosophy that is heavily Grandpa Caleb and Burning Man influenced. And that is what drives Hug Nation and everything I do.
So beautiful. This is just so inspiring. So many sparks.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes. Is there anything else that you want to share about Hug Nation or about the journey that feels helpful for our listeners to just continue to feel the sparks?
I mean, I would just share, like there was a time in my life when I had a self definition I felt like I was flaky and unable to like, commit to things. And I just kind of followed my inspirations and I judged myself for that. But, Hug Nation has now been going for 25 years. And First Saturdays has been going for 16 years. And these gratitude circles have been going for 6 years. And there is an instinct, I think, or a desire when we feel like the world needs help for us to figure out what is the grand gesture? What is the charity that I need to start? What is the fundraise? Like, what is the big thing I need to do to heal the world? And my path has been show up every day a little bit. And sometimes what being in Hug Nation, what being a love ambassador means is directing whatever you got to yourself. If you need a day or a week or a month of self-care and that compassion and that love and that forgiveness that you're putting in the world is for you, that potentially is more important. It's still activism. It still is helping the world. If you can get your vessel as healthy as possible, that is not selfish work. is absolutely important. And in fact, I would say if you bypass that and jump into fixing the world, it's like doing surgery with rusty tools. It might feel like you're doing a good, but it's dangerous. So small little reaction. Let me tell last story is that so when the gratitude circle started we this group was gathering and we had people from all over the world, which is why we added one that was 3 in the morning my time because there are so many Europeans that wanted to do it at their noon. And there was a regular named Anna who lived in Kiev. And when Russia invaded, she fled to the Polish border. Another active member in our community in Paris drove down and picked up someone else in Germany. And then the two of them drove 10 hours, another 10 hours to the Polish border, picked up this woman and her children and at the border and found these refugees a place to live. So before that, they were practicing this idea of every day looking for little ways, holding a door open, being kind, being nice, and just getting the practice so that they are identifying as a love ambassador. They're identifying as someone who's in Hug Nation. And then knock, 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 the opportunity came to be heroic. And they did it. And that is how it works. You don't wait for your chance to do something important. You just look, how can you be a little kind every day? And then it makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Yeah, so powerful, the ripple effect. Yes, thank you so much for this message. I feel so much inspiration in my system, so much of aliveness. And I hope the people out there that are listening are also feeling that kind of energy. It's like that electricity you spoke to when Caleb shared. I can feel that in my system right now. This is so
Mm,
good. So thank you so much for being such a spark, a powerful force of goodness in the world. I'm so honored to get to be here with you today and getting to share our Stay Sparked journey, which, hey, by the way, is going on almost 3 years. So
what?
here's another week that is just a little bit of sparks out there. So cheers and high five. So thank you so much. This is great. And all the everything you shared in the show notes. So for those of you out there that want to work with John one-on-one, check out lifestudent.com and you can always pop on. I love popping on to the live streams as well in the mornings. It's such a sparkle, such a just a boost of positivity to start the day. So yeah, make sure you check that out. And then just for me, I love also hearing from you all out there. You can find my work on poweraffirmation.com and find some of the things that I'm passionate about too. But today it was all about you, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for being willing to go deep into the journey of Hug Nation and how far you've come.
Thank you so much. And boy, is the journey more pleasant, more fun, more exciting with fellow collaborators like you. Thank you,
Mm.
beautiful. I love you.
Oh, I love you so much too. Yeah, let's close with a hug. We're gonna wrap our arms around ourselves and in the spirit of our closing gratitude and affirmation with a big squeeze, just affirming, I am a love ambassador. I am a love ambassador. I am a love ambassador. Yes, 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 yes. We get to make a positive difference in the world every day in our own unique ways with love, with kindness, with hugs. Mm.
On behalf of Grandpa Caleb, thanks for being here with us today.
Has this conversation sparked you? Send us a note or leave a comment on the Stay Sparked Instagram page or YouTube channel. Reviewing us on Apple Podcasts really helps too. But most helpful of all is when you share us with a friend. We are so grateful to our sponsor, Lucid, makers of delicious functional mushroom and nootropic drinks. And special thanks to Dub Sutra, creators of our beautiful intro and ending music. Find links to me, Betsy, and all of this good stuff in the show notes.
Stay sparked, friends.